Hey everybody, Tim here with today's episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine, Season 6, Episode 3, Sons and Daughters. This was an okay episode. It wasn't great, and personally I feel like it could have done better, because it brings back a really interesting character. So it starts out with Worf and Dax have been reunited. I think she says it's been like 5 weeks since they've seen each other. And they start making plans about marriage, and like Worf wants to do this, but Dax wants to do this, and this is okay, but that's not okay. So the last time I watched Star Trek was about 9 years ago, maybe 10 years ago. So it's been a long time since I've binged all of the franchise all at one time, which is part of the reason I'm doing these reviews. And even if you really like a show, if a long time goes by, when you rewatch that show, you're a different person because it's been a long time since you've seen it. So you're kind of looking at it in a different way, which I've talked about. The first time I watched Deep Space Nine, I hadn't seen it since I was really little and I hated it. And growing up, watching it as an adult, I really liked it. Now, like I said, it's been 9 years, maybe 10 years. So I've been married for about 8 years now. And watching this show, like it's kind of triggered little things here and there that now I have a new appreciation for that I didn't before. And that goes even back to The Next Generation, where we see like on Data's Day, where Chief O'Brien and Keiko get married. I was like, oh, this is really fun, especially like where Data's the middleman, and she's like, oh no, I don't want to do this, and okay, let's go do that. So stuff like that. And then I mentioned it in the episode where Rom and Lita get married, and now watching this episode, seeing Dax and Worf trying to go back and forth, I don't know, like it has brought a new appreciation out of me, because I see a lot of traits, and I see a lot of things that at the time I never thought I would get married, and so like I never really cared about the wedding episodes, but now they really speak to me, so I really enjoyed this one. I can't wait to the episode where they do get married, because I don't really remember it. So I think that'll be a lot of fun for me. So this episode brings back the character of Alexander Roshenko, which is Worf's son. And this episode pisses me off because it has once again kind of ruined the continuity. Now, Alexander has always broken continuity. So like when he's talking to Worf, he's like, you haven't seen me in 5 years. So for the most part, not 100%, but for the most part, Star Trek ages in real time. Going back to The Next Generation, going to the end of Voyager. Like, at one point, Sisko's like, I've been on this station for 5 years. Yes, you have. Because it's the end of the 5th season. So typically Star Trek ages in real years. And then you get characters like Alexander Roshenko, where he says, you haven't spoken to me in 5 years. Okay, so the last episode Alexander was in was the Firstborn episode, and that was 3.5 years ago. So already, your math is a little bit off. And like I said, he has always been like this enigma of the franchise, because technically he was conceived in the episode Emissary, where Worf's girlfriend comes in, which was 8 years ago. And then even the first time we see him, he was like supposed to be a year or something and already looked like he was 5. So this kid is only supposed to be about 8 years old, and he's clearly like 18. So I don't know if Klingons just age really, really quick or what, but he's always kind of pissed me off because they don't know how to write him, and he's always just been kind of thrown to the wayside. He could be such a good character, and he could be such an interesting character, but they always let me down when it comes to Alexander. And this episode just kind of continues that motif where he shows up, and the last time we saw him, that was the episode where he comes from the future, and like at the end of the episode, Worf is like, okay, like you don't want to be a warrior, I will support you. And then you don't see him for 3.5 years, and now he's all pissed off because Worf won't talk to him. And Worf's like, well, you're not a warrior. You told him he didn't have to be. And this whole episode is just Alexander trying to be a warrior. And he's basically just like trying to fake it till you make it. And like he's fighting and just getting his ass kicked. And by the time we get to the end of the episode, once again, Worf is like, okay, like this isn't for you. Let's just start over again. So once again, Worf is trying to accept Alexander the way he is, but doesn't like it. So I don't know. Overall, I'm going to be the same way about this episode. I'm going to accept it for what it is, but I really just did not like this episode. We do see Alexander one more time, but overall, I feel like he was a letdown as a character, which the son of Worf could have been so good. And I did like at the end where Martok, who brought Worf into his family, also brings Alexander into the family. So he's Alexander, son of Worf, family of Martok, or whatever you want to say. But I don't know. So overall, what did you guys think about Alexander as a character from the very first time we saw him to now? Like, which actor? Because this is, I think, now the third actor, fourth if you count him from the future, which was what, Tony Todd? No, that was Jake. Never mind. Totally different character. So between like the first Alexander, the second Alexander, the future Alexander, and now the teenage Alexander, which one do you like the most? What do you guys think they should have done with the character? Or do you guys just wish they would have completely gotten rid of him and never talked about him? Go ahead, let me know in the comments below. Thank you guys for everything. And I did it again. I will see you guys next time for Behind the Lines.